Plated Traditions channel. Welcome to the Plated Traditions channel with your host Kendra Moses. This is the Plated Traditions.
Hello and welcome to the Plated Traditions channel. My name is Kendra Moses, and as always, by our resident Chef Kai off camera. So this week we are revisiting a topic we touched on at the beginning of this year, and that's time. But we are now revisiting time this week in regards specifically to the recipe. Now, there's another aspect of time, though, when it comes to the recipe. Now, this aspect of time when it comes to the recipe, did you truly want to execute this recipe? There are certain clues that can give you an idea about whether or not a recipe is worth your time and effort. And this has nothing to do about the limited amount of time that you have or the limited amount of resources or money that you have. But there is a way to look at a recipe to make sure that it's something that you actually want to do. Now, sticking with social media, probably one of the most famous foodies out there is Uncle Roger. And Uncle Roger is basically a champion of tradition. That's why I mentioned him. He wants to make sure that, especially when it comes to Asian cuisine, that anyone who's attempting to prepare anything that has to do with Asian cuisine is doing it correctly and authentically. So he is very instrumental on that. That is obviously a passion of his. And there is one particular cook, though, that Uncle Roger is not that keen on. And that's Jamie Oliver. When it comes down to someone like Uncle Roger, he wouldn't waste his money or his time to go out there and say, I'm going to specifically buy a Jamie Oliver cookbook. I'm going to go out there and specifically buy the ingredients for a Jamie Oliver recipe. Now, there might be something that I don't know about that didn't make to this feed. Because admittedly, I'm only just got familiar with Uncle Roger because I haven't been that big on social media as far as looking at things. So, but what I have noticed is that there's not much Jamie Oliver can do to please Uncle Roger. And that's even really cooking his own cuisine. So, when it comes down to it, time is money. He wouldn't take, Uncle Roger would not take his time nor money to buy a cookbook or to buy any ingredients with the intention to prepare a Jamie Oliver recipe. It's just not his taste. And the thing is about things is a lot of food is just not people's taste. We vaguely talked about that in the Moody Foodie episode. Sometimes it's not even that someone prepared the item incorrectly. It's just that the person is just not a fan of their particular type of cooking. And with Uncle Roger, it's a kind of affront on two levels because he's not quite happy with how Jamie Oliver creates what he feels should be authentic Asian cooking, and he's not that keen on how Jamie Oliver cooks in general either. So these are things he will not invest in. Now, he invests his time into spreading vital information to the public about how authentic Asian cuisine should be done that contradicts the Jamie Oliver way. And that is a good investment to him of his time. So, time is money. He feels like he has a wealth of that when it comes to sharing the information and avoiding at all costs attempting any recipe by Jamie Oliver or replicating any Asian recreation of Jamie Oliver's. He is saving his time and money when it comes to that. And that's what we have to do as a whole as well. Now, sometimes we come across food that we don't automatically know that we won't like. But sometimes there are very definite things where if you know you don't like coconut, why attempt a coconut chest pie? You don't like coconut, why make coconut covered shrimp? If you love shrimp, but you don't like coconut, don't attempt a recipe for coconut covered shrimp, the coconut battered shrimp. Now, and I found out personally, I love coconut, I love shrimp. I do not like them together. I could probably eat a shrimp meal and then follow it up with a coconut pie. But I cannot eat a coconut battered shrimp. I did not like that at all. So even with having a level of confidence in the kitchen, and even though my experience with the coconut battered shrimp came from a eatery, I still cannot see myself saying that I'm a pretty good cook. And I know in my heart of hearts, I love coconut and I love shrimp. So the problem apparently was not my taste buds. The problem apparently was whoever cooked that coconut battered shrimp, and I can do better. The problem was my taste buds not want to ingest or chew coconut and shrimp simultaneously. That's what the problem was. A Michelin star chef could come up. For all I know, it was a Michelin star chef who created that dish that day. My mind, my mouth said it does not like that combination together. It said it would tolerate it. As I had already chewed up the shrimp, swallowed it, had a palate cleanser, like whatever beverage I had with it, and then I proceeded to have some sort of coconut dessert. That would have been fine with my taste buds. But my taste buds said, not together. So these are subtle hints, or these are very definite hints. My mouth was not happy. My mouth was not happy, so it didn't feel subtle. But I know from that point of experience that I should not go out there and waste my time and money taking a recipe, even if it was made from a Michelin star chef that I respect, and said that I'm going to take their recipe and I'm going to take my culinary skills and I'm going to create something that I did not like the first time. And I know sometimes taste buds change, profiles change as you get older, whatever else. They did not change. It's not something that I'm going to like. And there's food out there that we all know that it's a thing. It's something we don't have to guess about. It's something we don't have to wonder about. So that's when we have to think about, is a recipe worth your time? A recipe becomes worth your time not when you have everything in place, not when you have everything, all the ingredients and the kitchen and everything to the exact same scale, the exact same condition of the recipe. The recipe is only worth your time when it's something you truly and honestly want to prepare. That's when a recipe is worth your time. When a recipe is worth your time, you have this level of sincerity. And when a recipe is worth your time, it's something that you make time out for. And you don't, when I mean make time out for, I don't mean rush the process. I mean, you tell yourself, you know, it's going to take this long to do this long to do that, this long to do the other thing. And then you allot to yourself added time above that to make sure that you have the best possible response because you're not rushing through the process. And time is money. Yes, it can be. If you're wasting your time on something, and that time also includes resources, you have wasted money, especially if you're wasting your time on something where you could have actually been doing something that could have actually been profitable. So time is a valuable thing, and sometimes it's not even measured by monetary stances, but it does have a monetary undertone because everything takes time in our world, and unfortunately, pretty much everything costs money in our world. So they're kind of two inescapable things. But hopefully the things that we can escape from is wasting our time on things that we know won't be beneficial for us. And when I mean beneficial, I don't even mean like it's a healthy recipe. I mean that you're getting the most out of your life because you're eating the food that you want to eat. And that food may not be that healthy. It may be quite greasy. It might be quite sweet, decadent, what have you. But you took your time out to execute a recipe with the correct amount of time, with everything else that you needed to do. You trusted the recipe. You did everything you were supposed to do. And you got a result that showed your effort. That's what makes it worthwhile. That what makes a recipe something that you want to do. Now, sometimes it may not be that simple, and sometimes you might want to experiment. Like I said, here at Play Traditions, we're all about experimentation. We want you to go beyond a certain comfort level, especially when it comes to eating and food, because there's too many choices out there in the world to just have just one set course menu. So when we get to that point though, sometimes, especially if it's a brand new recipe, a recipe that you're not familiar with, not really common in your neck of the woods, and not even something that's on the menu at any local eatery of yours. So you're looking at something though, you see the picture, it looks gorgeous, it looks like everything that you want. But there might be an ingredient or two that makes you give question to it. And this could happen for many reasons. The ingredient, one thing could be something like, unlike the example I gave for the coconut and shrimp, those two things I love, but like I said, they still can't go together. But now you're looking at a recipe and that has something in there that, despite that beautiful picture you saw, despite how good it looks, that has a couple of ingredients in it that you can't stand. And these ingredients are ingredients that are necessary. If nothing more, you know you can't just get rid of it because of the texture would be off. The quality would be off. So these two things you just can't get rid of. Or two things you're not sure about what flavor profiles would you replace them with, or what item would you replace it with that has that same kind of texture to it, to make sure that you get as close to that recipe's response or recipe's result as possible. So if you're finding yourself taking time and you can't really come up with a solution, and you probably reached out to someone and they can't really think about anything either, I'm not saying you shouldn't execute the recipe at all. You might just need to do some more research, but at that point in time, that recipe probably is not going to be for you, because there's something about those couple ingredients in there. They are not lightweight ingredients either. They are potent. They are something that, you know, with all the other components of that recipe, you will taste them. And if you taste them, the rest of the recipe, the rest of the finished product is going to go down the drain, because it's a taste that you really cannot stand. That it's not going to be worth your time, it's not going to be worth your money to prepare this recipe. And you might make it look beautiful just like the picture is, but the flavor and the taste, the average person eats their food with an expectation of taste, which means that they want something that does not offend their taste buds. They want something that lets their taste buds know that they are considering their feelings too. And they're not going to offend them by trying to ingest something that they know is offensive to their palate. So, and when it comes to that, that's a way that you know you can look at the recipe sometimes, and everything else might be okay with the recipe, but there is a little bit of red flags there. There's something in there that you know has a strong flavor profile that you won't be able to get over, that will come through no matter what you do. Don't waste your time and resources on that recipe. Go to something else. And if it's something that you look like you really want to try, and because a certain texture or way that it looks, maybe you could try looking for a recipe that has those same type of characteristics but without those ingredients. It's not concrete. I can't sit here right now and tell you, well, you can just go ahead and do it, because recipes can be sometimes so finicky and so particular that to change out the offensive parts of the recipe can change the overall outcome as far as texture and look, or the way that it cooks. So I can't definitively tell anyone right now that you can just switch that out. Now, later on, as we go through the whole process of this course, I will discuss substitutions when it comes to recipes. And I'll discuss them based on different ways that they typically affect the recipe. But right now, I cannot do that. I'm trying to just make sure that we have a general point of view, because this is an important point of view. Because, like I said, time means so much to us. And we waste our time doing something that is not going to be beneficial to us in the sense of being enjoyable to us. We find enjoyment as benefit. We find our good use of our time a benefit. But when we fall short on those two things, the enjoyment and the loss of time, then it's not beneficial to us anymore. So sometimes we can look at something and say that if I have affinity against these items in this recipe, maybe at a later date I can revisit. Maybe at a later time I could work, or throughout a certain time period, I could work through what will work as possible substitutions. Because it looks like I really want to go through this recipe because the way that finished product looked. But I need to change those flavor profiles. That's something where you will have to take the time to work on the recipe for. That would be the best use of your time and money in that situation. But actually executing that recipe as is with flavor profiles that are offensive to you is not the best use of your time and money. So it's highly suggested that you put that recipe over to the side, or if you haven't brought it, don't buy it. If you haven't downloaded it, don't download it unless you think you're going to take the time out, or that's worth your time to work on that recipe to get it to a flavor profile that you will more preferred. If you think there's a way that you can keep that texture and all those other elements that you see in the photo of it, if you think you can bring that alive but with a different, more pleasing flavor profile, then it'd be worth your time if you think it's worth your time. So that's another way to look at the recipe, about it being worth your time. Is it something that you're just doing because you think you'll be fancier, or you think you'll impress someone? And if that is important to you, okay, it's a good use of your time and possibly your money. But if you're just cooking for yourself, you just want the enjoyment of the food yourself, the enjoyment of the experience yourself, look at the recipe. And don't be too harsh. Like I said, we don't want to deter experimentation. We don't want to deter you having new experiences. We want to deter the direct red flags that can obviously be spotted in a recipe based on a quick glance. And another thing this can involve is health-related items too, as far as if you have any allergies. Again, if it's kind of the same situation where you think you might want to try it because the finished product looks so good, but you have a severe allergy to the main ingredient in it, you might want to save the recipe and by all means avoid the allergen in it. But if you think there's something that you could replace that main ingredient in that recipe for, that doesn't harm your health and that you can think you can get a favorable outcome, yes, it'd be worth your time to save it and put it over to the side and think about it. And if you think if it's something, a main ingredient in it that is really not that finicky, you can go through the process of attempting the recipe. It should be worth your time and money, because if this has your interest and you have a way to prepare it in a safe manner, it's worth your time and interest then. Time is a magnanimous thing, and we depend on it for so many things. We think about it for so many things. We talk about it for so many things. We have our little sayings about time is money. I know I said it a lot during this episode, but it's the best point of reference because we do monetize our time. Even something that's so priceless, we put some sort of monetary price tag to it, and we hold ourselves to that. And it usually the driving force to everything we do. And there may be different rules or thoughts about, or feelings or thoughts about how that happens, but for a large part, it does happen, regardless of how anyone feels about it. So, but when you're thinking about monetizing your time and you have this priceless feeling of a finished product, a job well done, something that you're going to enjoy, something you're going to take pride into, not only just for its appearance, but for its taste and everything else. That is when your time is always the best investment you could give. And that's why your time should always be one of the first investments that you are prepared to give. Even more so sometimes than the actual ingredients, sometimes more so than the actual space and everything else that is very much so required. You don't have these things, you don't have a recipe, you don't have the finished product, period. But all those things end up falling short in comparison of having the proper amount of time and dedicating the proper amount of time to whatever you want to do. So as a special treat, we have a special guest here on our channel today. She's a bestseller for her cookbook. She has sold so many copies. It has gotten a lot of notoriety for her work. Nobody want to ask her nothing. Her book is crap. Her cooking is crap. Anyway, so as I said, she is a very notable guest, and we are so happy that she's taking time out of her business schedule just to be here and talk with us, and of course talk with one of you. So we're opening the lines up for a caller to get through. Unfortunately, we don't have too much time, so it may just only be one of you all, but of course you'll be able to leave any comments or questions for her. She'll be able to attend to any other questions off air that you all would like to ask her. Her cooking's crap. Why do you keep doing that? Because her cooking's crap. Her cooking is not crap. She has sold a lot of copies of the book, and we're grateful to have her here today. So please stop doing that. So hello, Mary Cook Wright. So glad that you're here with us today. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Yes, we're so happy to hear you say that. And we're opening the lines in just a moment. This is a simple meet and greet. We like to keep it on this channel as authentic and sincere as possible. So we're hopefully that you and whoever your caller is will just take the time and enjoy the moment. So hello, caller.
Kendra?
Yes, Ian?
Yeah, I have a song that I want to share to express my feelings about how I feel about the book, Mary Cook Wright's cookbook, and I just want to go for there because I don't really have the words. I feel like I won't be expressing them properly.
Sure, Ian. We're all about letting, I guess, expressing themselves however way they feel comfortable. That's pretty much the play tradition standpoint. So you're on air. Mary Cookwright can hear you, and so can the rest of our viewers. So whenever you'd like to start.
In the kitchen I stand and stare, mixing dreams with a dash of despair. The recipe's flawed, it's missing its soul. What I hoped for, just a big black hole. My taste buds scream, they won't lie. This culinary war, man, I wanna cry. I really didn't like that recipe. Thought I could find my harmony, but every bite just tasted bland. So I'll toss it all, take a stand. I followed the steps, but the flavor's all wrong. A symphony that turned into a mournful song. Add a pinch of this, then a sprinkle of that, but it all just tastes like soggy old hat. Garnish dreams like cold on the plate. Turns out this dish just wasn't fate. I really didn't like that recipe. Thought I could find my harmony, but every bite just tasted bland. So I'll toss it all, take a stand. Followed the steps, but the flavor's all wrong. A symphony that turned into a mournful song. Add a pinch of this, then a sprinkle of that, but it all just tastes like soggy old hat. Garnish dreams like cold on the plate. Turns out this dish just wasn't fate. I really didn't like that recipe. Thought I could find my harmony, but every bite just tasted bland. So I'll toss it all, take a stand. In this kitchen I've learned to roam. I'll find the right path and make it my own. In this kitchen I've learned to roam.
See, I told you a book crap. You hear the sorrow and anguish in that man's voice. Well, Ian, first of all, pretty nice voice there. Thank you for your insight, and just sometimes the recipe, whoever tootless you're following is just not to your taste, even though they may be well acknowledged, even though they may be quite popular and trendy and whatever else. It just happens sometimes that we're just not on the same page when it comes to what is a good plate of tradition for us. I can't speak for Mary Cookwright. I imagine she may have a response for you, but from the play tradition's point of view, just thank you, and hopefully you'll have a better experience or more enjoyable experiences down the line. And again, just thanks so much for sharing your experience with us, involving our special guest today, Mary Cookwright, and see if she has anything to say to you right now. Well, I'm not gonna lie to you, Ian. That was a lot to take in. So thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again next week. Bye bye.